Welcome to today's Catholic Daily Readings from Christus Dominus Bread of Life. A reading from the book of Judges. And so the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he traveled through Gilead and Manasseh, and he passed on even to Mizpah of Gilead. And from there he continued on to the sons of Ammon. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, saying, If you will deliver the sons of Ammon into my hands, then whatever will go out from the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the sons of Ammon, will be for the Lord, and I will offer it as a holocaust. And so Jephthah crossed over to the sons of Ammon, so that he might fight against them, and the Lord delivered them into his hands. And he struck them from Aroer, even until you come to Minnith, 20 cities, and as far as Abel, which is covered with vineyards, in a great slaughter. And the sons of Ammon were subdued by the sons of Israel. But when Jephthah returned to Mizpah, to his own house, his only daughter met him with timbrels and choruses, for he had no other children. And upon seeing her, he tore his garments, and he said, Alas, my daughter, you have cheated me, and you yourself have been cheated. For I opened my mouth to the Lord, and I can do nothing else. And she responded to him, My father, if you have opened your mouth to the Lord, do to me whatever you have promised, since the victory has been granted to you, as well as vengeance against your enemies. And she said to her father, Grant to me this one thing which I request. Permit me to wander the hills for 2 months, and to lament my virginity with my companions. And he answered her, Go. And he released her for 2 months. And when she had gone away with her comrades and companions, she wept over her virginity in the hillsides. And when the 2 months were completed, she returned to her father, and he did to her just as he had vowed.
Here I am, Lord, I come to do your will. Bless the man who makes the Lord his trust, who turns not to idolatry, or to those who stray after falsehood. Here I am, Lord, I come to do your will. Sacrifice or a blessing,
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. And responding, Jesus again spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a man who was a king who celebrated a wedding for his son. And he sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, but they were not willing to come. Again he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those who were invited, behold, I have prepared my meal. My bulls and fatlings have been killed, and all is ready. Come to the wedding.' But they ignored this and they went away, one to his farm, another to his business. But the rest took hold of his servants, and having treated them with contempt, they killed them. But when the king heard this, he was angry, and sending out his armies, he destroyed those murderers, and he burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding indeed has been prepared, but those who were invited were not worthy. Therefore go out to the ways and call whomever you will find to the wedding.' And his servants, departing into the ways, gathered all those whom they found, bad and good, and the wedding was filled with guests. Then the king entered to see the guests. And he saw a man there who was not clothed in a wedding garment. And he said to him, 'Friend, how is it that you have entered here without having a wedding garment?' But he was dumbstruck. Then the king said to the ministers, 'Bind his hands and feet, and cast him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'" Join us for today's reflection. You're sitting in your car after the parent-teacher conference, gripping the steering wheel. Your teenager is failing 3 classes, skipping school, and when confronted, rolled their eyes and said, "Whatever, you'll bail me out like you always do." And they're right. You've been making their bed, doing their homework, covering for their mistakes since they were little because you promised yourself you'd be the supportive parent yours never was. But your rescue mission has created a monster who expects the world to accommodate their refusal to grow up. That's the uncomfortable truth lurking in today's parable of the wedding banquet. The king sends servants to call the invited guests, but they're too busy with their own priorities to attend. Their rejection isn't dramatic rebellion, it's casual dismissal. They simply prefer their farms, their businesses, their comfortable routines over the honor of dining with royalty. So the king opens the invitation to everyone, but there's a catch. Even those pulled in from the streets must honor the occasion by wearing appropriate attire. This connects directly to the memorial of Saint Pius X, a pope who understood that accessibility doesn't mean abandoning standards. Born into poverty as Giuseppe Sardo, he could have used his humble origins to justify relaxing the church's demands. Instead, he opened First Communion to 7-year-olds while simultaneously requiring proper preparation. He made the Eucharist more accessible while insisting on worthiness through frequent confession. He understood that lowering the age for receiving Christ meant raising the standard of preparation, not lowering expectations. But first, we need to grapple with Jephthah's horrific vow in our first reading. Here's a man who promises God he'll sacrifice the first thing that comes out of his house if granted victory in battle. When his daughter emerges dancing in celebration, he's trapped by his own words. Some scholars debate whether he literally killed her or dedicated her to perpetual virginity, but the text suggests the worst. This isn't a story that endorses human sacrifice. It's a warning about the dangerous combination of desperate bargaining with God and failure to think through consequences. Jephthah's tragedy reveals how we manipulate God when we're desperate. We make grand promises in crisis moments without considering what we're actually offering. God, if you get me this job, I'll go to Mass every day. If you heal my marriage, I'll give up drinking. If you help my kid get into college, I'll volunteer at church. Then when God comes through, we discover our promises cost more than we calculated, and we start negotiating the terms after the fact. This is exactly what the wedding guests do in Jesus' parable. They received the invitation when life was comfortable and committed to attending. But when the time comes, their priorities have shifted. The farm needs attention. Business is booming. The original commitment becomes inconvenient, so they send their regrets. Their casual dismissal of the king's invitation reveals they never really understood what they were accepting or rejecting. Saint Pius X faced this mentality constantly during his papacy. The intellectual elite wanted a Christianity that accommodated modern philosophy without demanding personal transformation. They wanted the social benefits of religious identity without the spiritual costs of discipleship. Pius X's response was uncompromising. You can't have the honor without the obligation, the blessing without the commitment, the invitation without the transformation. The man without a wedding garment represents everyone who wants to participate in God's kingdom on their own terms. He accepted the invitation, but refused the preparation. He wanted the benefits of the banquet, but not the respect of proper attire. When confronted, he's speechless because there's no defense for presuming you can honor God without changing anything about yourself. This cuts directly to our modern spiritual entitled mentality. We want God's protection but not his lordship. We demand his blessings while ignoring his commands. We expect his grace to cover our deliberate rebellion while calling it freedom. We've created a therapeutic Christianity that promises all comfort and demands no cost. Jephthah's daughter emerges from his house dancing, celebrating her father's victory, unaware she's about to become the price of his promise. How many relationships, dreams, and opportunities have we sacrificed because we made spiritual commitments we never intended to keep? How many people have suffered because our desperate bargains with God included consequences we refused to calculate? The psalm captures the only healthy response. Here I am, Lord. I come to do your will. Not here's what I'll do if you give me what I want, but here's my life. Use it as you see fit. This is the difference between negotiation and surrender, between bargaining and worship, between trying to obligate God and allowing him to transform us. Saint Pius X understood this completely. His motto, to restore all things in Christ, wasn't about making Christianity more convenient, but about making Christians more serious. He opened the doors wider while raising the ceiling higher. He welcomed children to communion while demanding adult commitment to formation. He made the sacred more accessible while insisting it remain sacred. The wedding banquet isn't a casual dinner party. It's a royal celebration that honors the host by requiring guests to honor the occasion. Your spiritual life isn't a hobby you can pursue when convenient. It's a fundamental orientation that shapes every other priority. The invitation is free, but accepting it costs everything you thought you controlled about your life. The question isn't whether you've been invited to God's kingdom. The question is whether you're willing to let that invitation transform how you dress, speak, spend money, treat people, and structure your priorities. Because showing up is only the beginning. The real test is whether you're prepared to honor the one who honored you with the invitation.